watching the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Steve Grover back here for another episode of the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast. And, you know, obviously we're a Calgary-based law firm, and we like to push Calgary business, local businesses here in the beautiful city of Calgary. And tonight's podcast is sponsored by Chronicle Specialty Coffee Roasters. This is an Ethiopian blend. So if you need a good cup of coffee, as I said, go down to my friends at Chronicle, and they'll probably set you up with a nice brew of Ethiopian coffee, and hopefully enjoy it. The tasting notes are jasmine, lemon, peach, and vanilla. So give it a shot, okay? So tonight I have a good friend of mine and a past client too, present, Jim Powers. Hey Jim, how's it going?
Great. Absolutely couldn't ask for better.
Okay, so how's 2023 treating you?
Well, it started out great. I was in Baja for a couple of months, living on the beaches and tripping around and getting into some good Mexican cerveza and a little bit of tequila here and there, some seafood. It's good times, but all the good times come to an end, and had to come back to early spring in Calgary, where it was not anywhere near as warm. But things are warming up, and I'm back here for a while.
Okay, so everyone, a lot of people don't know who you are. I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of people know you here in the biking community here in Alberta and BC. Mm-hmm. Just tell us a little bit about where you're from, you know, what type of lifestyle you live, I mean, and, you know, what you enjoy doing.
Well, anybody that, if you look, I'm not a young guy anymore. I'm 77 years old, and I can feel each and every one of those years. But I've been a pretty active motorcyclist. Up until the time of my motorcycle accident, I had a Harley-Davidson Fat Boy Low that I was putting in the neighborhood of 20 to 25,000 kilometers per summer on, long distance touring, down to Sturgis, around and about, touring. And I even took it down to Mexico once. And that was basically what I was. I started out, just bought a bike on a whim. Seemed like a good idea, and I got more and more into it, and got more and more into the community. Yeah. Started going to rallies, made a bunch of friends, and that just went on and on. And,
okay. So how did you get into riding? Like, how old were you when you started riding a motorcycle?
Actually, I wasn't young. I can't remember exactly when it was. Would have been in the 70s, 1970s, early 70s. And a friend of mine had bought a Yamaha.
Just about the time I was born.
Yeah, could be.
Was it before or after Star Wars came out in 1977 that you started to ride? Because that's always a benchmark for me. My whole life is like, you know, Star Wars.
I can't remember, but we were living down in Sunnyside.
Here in Calgary?
In Calgary, yeah. down by the river. Okay. And my friend had bought a 250 Yamaha Enduro, and it looked kind of fun. I'd never ridden a motorcycle in my life. And it looked like it was kind of fun, so I looked around and I found a 360 Enduro.
Okay, Yamaha?
Yamaha.
Okay.
So my friend took me out. We lived on 2nd Avenue Second Avenue Northwest, which was actually a bus route, fairly wide street. And he went out there to show me how to ride this bike. Okay. And so I started out a little gas, a little clutch, you know, and then it would stall, and a little more gas, a little stall. Next thing I knew, I'm doing a wheelie down 2nd Avenue, and my friend's yelling after me, little less gas. Okay. So we dropped her down. Okay. So then I needed to get a license, and that was long enough ago. They had just converted the Alberta licensing from class A, B, C, and D to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And so I had never bothered getting a class 6 endorsement on my license because I had never ridden or had any interest in it. So when I converted over from a class D, I guess it just went to a class 5. But now I had a motorcycle, so I needed a license. Okay. But the thing was, they had grandfathered the automatic. If you were previously, you could ride a bike with a class 5 license, and that was grandfathered. So I went down to Alberta vehicle registry.
Yeah.
And I told them that I had neglected to get the Class 6 endorsement, but now I needed it. They said, "You've been riding a motorcycle?" I said, "Oh yeah, ever since I was like 16 years old."
Okay.
And it was just, they rubber stamped it.
Okay. So they sort of like, rubber stamped your Class 6 and you're on your way.
Away it went. No testing, nothing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I knew absolutely nothing.
So you started off on Yamahas.
Yeah.
And why was it Yamaha you chose? Just because your friend had a Yamaha, or they appealed to you?
Basically, it was, my friend had a Yamaha, and it just seemed like a good idea. And I looked around, and I found one.
Okay.
It was the same enduro style as his, except for mine was 360 and his was 250.
Okay. All right. So you went up CCs more than he did.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm familiar with Yamaha. My dad was a Yamaha man, so I mean, we had Yamahas in our family ever since I was born. And as you get older, you want to try those European trash bikes like Ducati and MV Agusta.
Yeah.
So obviously you start riding.
Yeah.
Why do you ride? I mean, obviously you've been riding for almost 50 years now. Why do you keep up with it?
Well, I started after the enduro. My next bike was Yamaha. I stuck with Yamahas for quite a while.
Okay.
I went to a Yamaha 750 special.
Yeah.
And that was when Yamaha made their specials, which sort of looked like a chopper.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that for a year or two, or I can't remember. And then they brought out the 1100 special. So my pursuit of, if it's bigger, it's got to be better. I went and traded in the 750 for the 1100 special.
Yeah, every man needs a penal extension, obviously.
And then the next thing they brought out was the FJ 1100,
okay,
which was a crotch rocket.
Yeah.
And it was the fastest production motorcycle in all categories: standing quarter, running quarter, all of the categories.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and bought one of those.
So that's the typical bike you need in Calgary, right? To go up and down McLeod, have the fastest bike ever made, right? Yeah, just for Calgary's weather, right?
Except for I still didn't know how to ride.
Okay.
Because like I said, I just got my license rubber stamped, so I still didn't know how to ride.
Okay.
But I decided I was going to take this thing down to Laguna Seca.
Okay.
And to watch the motorcycle races. I'd been there previously on one of my other bikes and watched. This was when Kenny Roberts and Randy Mamola were racing for Yamaha.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided I was going to go down. And I got to northeastern Oregon and made a bad decision going into a sweeping corner and in the wrong gear and not enough torque, and started drifting over the center line and hit a patch of tar and went into a high-speed wobble and got launched off the bike and slid off the side of the road and woke up with 2 sets of cowboy boots looking down at me and wondering whether I was dead or alive. So I got taken to the hospital in Enterprise, Oregon.
Yeah.
The next morning, the state patrol was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him if he was there to charge me, and he said, "No, single vehicle, no witnesses, though we do think speed might have been involved."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, what makes you think that?" He said, "Do you have any idea how many times your motorcycle flipped over before it came to rest?" I said, "No." He said, 19 times.
Okay.
And I looked and he says, "You're probably wondering how I know that." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, we counted the divots in the pavement."
Oh, okay.
And he looked and he said, "So I had to come to visit you this morning because I never seen anybody walk away from a motorcycle wreck that bad, and I had to see for myself that you were actually alive."
Okay, so are you part Irish?
Just
no?
lucky, yeah.
Okay, you're just lucky?
So I guess I was going well over 100 miles an hour
okay.
when I lost it. But then I got away from motorcycling for a while.
Yeah.
Lost the idea of riding a crotch rocket didn't have quite the appeal anymore. But in 50 years later, 2012. 2011, I was up in a bush camp in northern Alberta and talking to a guy I was working with, and he showed me pictures of his motorcycle, and it was a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
I thought that might be kind of a good idea, so I came back to Calgary for Christmas, went down to Kane's Harley Davidson, and bought myself a 2012 Fat Boy Low.
So was that when Mick was the owner, or there was a different owner back then?
No, that was Mick.
Mick was the owner? Okay.
Yeah, I've known Mick for for years, ever since we were almost, I've probably known him 50 years.
Okay, so you started off with a Yamaha. You almost kill yourself in Oregon.
Yeah.
And the state trooper, like he says, man, that's amazing. You survived that accident.
Mm-hmm.
You quit for a while, and you end up transferring to a Harley, correct?
Yeah.
Cruiser, like a Softail Harley, or?
Yeah, it's a Fat Boy Low, which is a soft tail boulevard cruiser, not a touring bike.
Okay.
But I put saddlebags on it and loaded it up with luggage, and I just went out and hit the road. And the first year I had it, I toured all over Alberta. I went to every Harley Davidson dealership in Alberta.
Okay.
And then eventually ended up going down to Arizona Bike Week, and then Sturgis, and then I sort of got the bug for going to rallies and met a lot of people.
Okay. So you've always been a Harley man since 2012, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why do you like Harleys?
I don't know. Partly, I guess, sort of the bad boy image and all that. There's not exactly what you don't think of as a corporate bike, but God knows there's an awful lot of lawyers riding them.
Yeah.
But more than the fact of it being a Harley, I mean, imagine if Mick had been dealing Indians, I probably would have ended up buying an Indian.
Have you ever thought of buying an Indian?
No.
Why not?
Not now.
Why not?
Well, I guess if I wanted a Polaris product, I could go buy myself a Razor or a snowmobile or something like that.
All right. So you think of Indian as part of the Polaris group and all that stuff? Yeah.
Indian is a Polaris SKU.
Yeah.
And its marketing, and I don't want to annoy anybody.
Yeah.
But that's my personal feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
I understand they're well-engineered bikes. I understand they're well-put-together bikes.
Yeah.
But the other thing I like about a Harley is I can be riding just about anywhere in Canada and the U.S. and I can find a Harley dealership. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that with very many other bikes.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I've got a couple of venture bikes. I've got a KTM. I've got a Ducati, and I thought of if I'm gonna. I've never traveled in the U.S. with my adventure bikes, but I thought if now with that new Pan America coming out, say I go to Montana or Idaho, I break down with the Ducati down in like Sandpoint, they won't even know what to do with it. They'll probably laugh me out of the country. But a Harley dealership, you can roll in with the Pan America, get it fixed, and be back on the road, heading to California, Utah, wherever you're going. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Sandpoint, Utah, you're maybe an hour and a half from Spokane. Lone Wolf Harley Davidson is there. And they're at the big dealership, and they've got parts, and they've got service, and they've got everything you want.
So you say you traveled around Alberta. You saw all the Harley dealerships in the province. Obviously, there has been some closures of Harley dealerships lately just because they're trying to make it more exclusive brand. Mm-hmm. I think there was a dealership in Lethbridge. I think that's gone now. Crow's Nest, I think it's gone now.
The owner died.
Yeah.
And the family didn't want to keep it going, and Harley. Yeah.
But I don't think they have a dealership down in Lethbridge right now.
No, Lethbridge
There's one
is shut
in
down.
Badlands in Medicine Hat.
That was the original owner sold it, and it's now owned by a car dealership. Yeah,
and then there's the Calgary Harley, which is owned by Shaganappi GMC Group. So when you took that tour and saw all the Harley dealerships in Alberta, which was your favorite dealership out of the whole province?
Well, I got to be honest.
Is there one or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really liked. I'm biased towards Canes.
Yeah.
Because that's my home dealership,
and
I used to belong to the Hog chapter out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very biased. But my other next favorite, just overall, just for the look of it, was Gasoline Alley.
The one in Red Deer?
The one in Red Deer. Yeah. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, there was one time I started on one of my trips, and I needed a drive belt and a rear sprocket. Mm-hmm. And so I remember I got to Castlegar, and I was on my way to Sturgis, and I sat down in the Chevron service station parking lot in Chevron and phoned every dealership in Western Canada looking for those parts.
Harley dealership?
Every Harley dealership looking for those parts.
Okay.
And I couldn't find them except for the Lethbridge dealer had the belt.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, I'll come in and I'll buy the belt. And then I figured, okay, I'll get down to Sturgis and go to Rapid City, and there's a big dealership there, and I'll have no problem getting the sprocket and getting it installed.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Okay.
But the one dealership in all Western Canada that had that belt was the guys in Lethbridge, and they put it aside for me, and I pulled into the dealership like 2 minutes before closing.
Yeah.
The guy was literally coming out to lock the door, and he saw me sitting there, and he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, there's supposed to be a belt waiting for me," and he stayed open, and he went and he got it for me.
So unfortunately, that dealership shut down now.
Yeah,
so I mean,
the
other funny thing about it is Mick has lost his Harley dealership too. So it's what's it called? Kane's Motorcycle Shop.
Kane's Motorcycle Shop.
Okay,
he's doing custom builds.
Yeah.
Used motorcycles.
Yeah.
And his business is booming, and he's doing well. He picks up a lot of damaged bikes, salvageable bikes down in the States, brings them up to Canada and puts them in the shop and rebuilds them and sells them on the floor.
Okay.
People that have got good bikes that they're trying to sell to put on consignment, and he turns bikes over like crazy.
Okay, and he doesn't have to do with the the dealership franchise issues with Harley anymore. He can just do whatever he wants.
He can do whatever he wants.
So
before when he had his franchise, he couldn't go and buy bikes, damaged bikes, and fix them up and sell them.
Well, if he found like a nice Yamaha V-Rod, he can't pick it up and sell it as a Harley dealership, but now he can.
Yeah, he can anything.
Yeah.
He specializes in Harleys, but he can sell anything.
So is it outside looking like I got a bunch of bikes? I got the new Lowrider ST El Diablo this year. I'm thinking about doing some changes, put a 131 in it, maybe put some carbon fiber wheels on it, put a riser on it. Would you recommend me taking that bike and working with Mick to get the custom work done at his shop then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Over the other guys in town that I won't mention?
Mick's been working with Harley Davidson since I would say since his teens.
Okay.
I'd say he probably started working for Bob Kane, and that's where he started with Kane. He started as a mechanic. Yeah. Working in Kane's Harley Davidson in Calgary, and when Bob Kane was ready to retire, he sold the shop
to Mick.
Rather than passing it on to his kids, actually.
And then they have the cafe there.
The cafe's closed.
Yeah, but it was there for a while.
It was there for a while.
And then so they've closed the cafe now, the Harley Cafe. What's going in there now? Anything or no?
Last I talked to Mick, he said somebody is thinking of taking it over and putting a restaurant in again, but I don't know.
Yeah. So if no one knows, Kane's Mick is down on Inglewood. What street is he on in Inglewood? The main drag there, sort of.
11th Avenue.
11th Avenue. Near the Army Surplus Shop.
Yeah,
that one
kitty corner to Crown Surplus.
Yeah, I go in there sometimes. I collect some medal, some Army medals or hats and stuff like that. So, but I'll make sure this summer I pop in and say hi to Mick. You know. I never bought anything from him, but I do have that lowrider. I like to do some changes too. And what I found in Calgary is, like, I lived in the U.S., I lived in the West Coast. I find it hard to get some real custom work done here in Alberta sometimes. I mean, Ontario is a huge market. I mean, there's 15 million people there. And Quebec is huge for motorcycling too. But yeah, I wouldn't mind popping in and say hi to Mick again, and I like to do a custom shop, and if you recommend that, then probably it's worth the time.
Well, Mick's building my bike.
Yeah. So you want to tell people, we'll get into your accent a little bit later, but if you want to talk about your bike, like you getting a trike made?
Yeah, well, I haven't ridden since the accident in 2019. Okay. And I didn't have the money to get a new bike until you guys helped me out with the insurance settlement. Yeah. And the first guy I went to talk to was Mick. He had a 2018 Harley Davidson Heritage Softail in his rental fleet. Yeah. So I knew it had been well taken care of. And so I bought it from him. And then he went out and we looked around, and the Heritage Softail being a monoshock and the new monoshock, not too many of the trike conversion kits can do that conversion. The only one we could find that could do it, that could work with a monoshock, was Frankenstein.
Okay.
So we talked to Frankenstein and told him what we were doing. And because of Mick and his contacts, he was able to get me a Frankenstein axle in about 6 weeks, as opposed to 10 months.
Okay.
Which is generally what it's taking now if you go to order one. But he was able to get one and brought it in. And so that was the basis of what we were using.
So if people don't know, can you explain what a Frankenstein monoshock is?
Well, it's the rear axle kit.
Okay.
So basically what you do, they take the rear wheel off the bike.
Okay.
And they reuse the sprocket.
Okay.
And the drive belt and all that. And they just put it now. The Frankenstein kit is a solid, it's not independent rear wheel suspension, it's a solid axle just like your standard Harley freewheelers and tri-glides.
Yeah.
Solid axle.
Yeah.
And because it's a solid axle, it works really well with the new monoshock that Harley has on the newer Milwaukee 8s. So we went with that. And then it came down to a matter of reverse. And most people, they'll put an electric reverse on, which is basically another starter motor.
Yeah.
And so Mick talked to Frank at Frankenstein and said that he had one. And Frankenstein said, well, if it was me, and if it was my trike, I'd put the mechanical reverse on.
Okay.
He says it's not a draw on your battery. It's a solid content.
Okay.
So we went with that. Plus the fact that because I'm left above the knee amputation, I can't do heel and toe and shift gear. So I wanted a shifter. So we went with a Pingle shifter. So this bike will have the Pingle shifter, the mechanical reverse, and the Frankenstein rear axle kit. Then we needed some kind of a trunk to put on it.
Yeah.
So we could have maybe looked around and found a fiberglass knockoff kit, which is what most of the trikes have. But Mick had some friends, and so he had a line on an OEM 1947 Harley Davidson service car box, original.
Okay.
So the guy down in Ontario had 2 of them, and because Mick was a friend, he sold one to Mick. So that's going on the bike.
So when's the bike going to be ready?
Well, I just talked to Mick today, and they're starting to work on the body work on it. We've already painted the tank and the fenders. It's got all the wheels on. Mick got a Wheelsmith wire spoke wheels, and wide white walls, front and back.
So when is it going to start? When are you going to start rocking
I'm
and
hoping
rolling?
it'll be ready in about another month.
So are you going to have it time to go to Sturgis?
I'm not going to Sturgis.
Why aren't you going to Sturgis?
Well, because I know I need to have the trike ready. I need to have a trailer ready to haul the trike, and I need to have a vehicle ready that can pull the trailer, and that won't be ready for Sturgis.
Okay.
So maybe next year.
So hopefully by the end of July your trike's ready, and then 2024 you're going to be rocking and rolling down to Sturgis next year. Hopefully.
Yeah, but the bike's not going to be sitting at a garage for winter.
No. But I mean, obviously you like to go to rallies. You like to go to.
Yeah.
I think you went to Arizona Bike Week this March.
Yep.
How was that?
It was great, but it didn't have a bike.
Yeah.
So
but
I didn't get around, and but it was fun.
And then you'll take the bike down next year to Arizona Bike Week in March next year, 2024.
Well, I'll be taking it to Baja.
Okay, Baja,
in
California.
November.
California or Mexico?
Mexico.
Okay, all right. So I know you mentioned a little bit your accident. Are you okay talking about it?
Oh, yeah.
So when exactly was your accident? What happened? What were your injuries? If you just want to tell people what happened so they understand what you went through.
Well, in 2019, at that time I was living out in Nanaimo. When I wasn't working up north, I had a 47-foot sailboat out in Nanaimo, and I'd go camp out on there. So it was riding season, so I packed up the bike and I headed. My first stop was Invermere for Horse Thief Hideout Memorial Rally.
Yeah.
That's a rally that my friend Gary OJ puts on.
Okay.
And so I went to that, and then my plan was to go down to Baker City, Oregon
Okay.
for the Hells Canyon rally. And I
Okay.
was hooking up with some friends from Vancouver Island. And so I met up with them and rode with them and did that rally. And then the next one was Pendleton Bike Week.
Mm-hmm.
And Hells Canyon in Baker City ended on the Sunday. And Pendleton was, I think, starting on the following Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I went riding around. I went for a ride to Enterprise, Oregon, where I had my infamous motorcycle accident on the FJ 1100 that I talked
back
about.
in the 70s. Yeah.
So I went back with the idea of I wanted to find the hospital that I'd been in, which I did, even though it wasn't a hospital anymore.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to find the curve that
What
the
is it
accident
now?
happened.
What is it now? A nunnery or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Or In-N-Out Burger maybe, or McDonald's?
The building's still there. It's being used for some.
It's not a Domino's Pizza
No.
franchise now?
No, it's being used for some.
Okay.
Sort of like an extended care center or something.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah.
So then I went looking for the scene of the accident,
Mm-hmm.
and the distance between Enterprise and the next town that had a hospital was 50 miles.
Yeah.
So I figured that the accident had to be within 25 miles, or else
Mm-hmm.
I would have gone to the other town.
Yeah.
So I went riding, and all I could remember was that it was a sweeping right-hand corner,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other side of the road it had a big pullout,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I had slid into face
Yeah.
first. And I found the place.
Okay.
Took
Was there
some
still a 19 grooves in the road still after 40 years? Or
No,
is that-
I don't think they were still
repaved
there.
it since? Yeah.
So I went and I found that, and then
Yeah.
I rode to a rest area that I knew of just outside Pendleton, and the next day I went in and found the campground.
Okay.
It was the baseball field,
Yeah.
and set up my tent, and went downtown looking for a bite to eat and to pick up a 6-pack of beer to bring back for the
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah.
And I got into Pendleton, and you go into Pendleton, when you're heading from the west, heading east into Pendleton, the road splits into two one-way streets.
Yeah.
So I went on the southerly one-way street, and you go in and you go around a corner, you go past the service station to lights.
Yeah.
And I remember as I went through the lights, looking off to my side and saying, "Oh, the bikes are starting to come in."
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I remember was waking up in a hospital bed and looking down and saying to myself, "Son of a bitch, I don't have a leg anymore."
Mm.
And that was it. What had happened is I had gone through the lights,
Yeah.
and a car, and I was going at traffic speed, which
Yeah.
was below the speed limit.
Yeah.
And a car came up, and she was going faster than the speed limit, and she went to switch lanes. This is what I figured.
Yeah.
She went to switch lanes,
Yeah.
and she didn't see me. I was slightly ahead of her, and she clipped my rear fender, knocked
Yeah.
the bike sideways, and then ran over me
Yeah.
and kept going and dragged
Yeah.
me down the road 50 or 60 feet on
Yeah.
the bike,
Yeah.
and said she didn't remember hitting anything.
Yeah.
So that was it. I was in a hospital in Pendleton without a leg.
Yeah. Well, I think, unfortunately, there was a very catastrophic injury. I mean, you lost your leg from the knee down, correct?
Yeah.
Amputated?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Below
And
at the first amputation, which was done in the Cadillac Medical Center in Richland, Washington.
Yeah,
They cut it off below the knee,
yeah,
but there wasn't enough of a stump there to do anything. So
they-
when I got back here to Calgary,
the foothills.
Foothills.
Yeah, they shaved it more.
they
Yeah.
cut it to above the knee.
Okay. And then, I mean, obviously you're wearing a one broken biker hat tonight. I mean, how did you, obviously they reached out to you when you're back here in Calgary, correct?
No,
How did you get into touch with one broken biker?
because while I was laying
Yeah.
in the hospital in Richland, Washington, with my brother, my
Yeah.
phone rang,
Okay.
and I picked up the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and this girl says, "Hi, my name's Lori, and I was one broken biker."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, that's nice.
Yeah.
And she said, and we're a not-for-profit, organization out of Calgary, Alberta, and we're here, we raise money to help fallen motorcyclists. And I said, that's nice. And she said, and when you get back to Calgary, you give me a call and I'll come to the hospital. She said, you going to Foothills? I says, yeah. She said, I'll come to Foothills with a check.
Okay.
So, well, okay.
Okay.
So I got back to Calgary and gave her a call, and the next thing I know, there she was.
So they're right there to help you out.
She was right there to help me out.
So OBB, One Broken Biker, is a non-for-profit organization out there to help injured riders and help them get back in their life. And what did they give you? They gave you a check? Did they give you like a little goodie package or something like that?
They give you a check, and they give you your first. They give you a survivor badge, and they give you, a package telling you all about it. Yeah. And also telling you about Grover Law.
Okay. And that's how you got in touch with me.
That's how I got in touch with you. I knew I needed a lawyer, and I didn't have a lawyer so I called you, and you guys came to talk to me. And
well, I remember I got the first call from you. I was in holidays with my family in Kelowna, and it's like, oh my, this case could go nowhere possibly. You know what I'm saying? Then I came back and I met you at the Care West Center in off Glenmore Reservoir, and you were there for quite a bit of time, weren't you, in the Care West Center?
Yeah, I was there from about the second week of August until December 1st.
Yeah, and then we took the case, and then we got in touch with my buddy down Hess Law, Peter Hess. You remember him? Mm-hmm. Very good lawyer down there, and they litigated the case down there in Oregon. Yeah. They got the insurer to pay out the limits, and then we came back here and we went after your uninsured for the extra money, didn't we? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there was also another American lawyer that you tried that
I don't even want to talk about him. So.
Well, I'm not going to talk about him, but he just didn't like the case and he wasn't interested.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to mention his name. I still see him at seminars, and I know he made a big mistake by not taking on your case. Okay.
But Peter Hess. Yeah. He called me and we talked, and he was right in on it. He was all in. Yeah. No reservations, nothing. He said, "We're going to work for you on this case," and he did. Yeah. And he worked hard, and his whole team worked hard. Yeah. And the thing about the case was the police didn't charge anybody.
Well, we'll talk about that if you can talk. The police got it wrong. They came out and blamed you initially, correct?
Well, they blamed me. Yeah. But they didn't charge me.
Well, at the same time, a charge is a different thing. But we saw the police report, we saw the video. There was no video of the accident. Unfortunately, the authorities blamed you 100%. Yeah. I mean, do you think it had to do anything with the fact that you're a biker, maybe? Because you are in conservative, very conservative jurisdiction in Pendleton. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, maybe if they had known my politics, they might have.
Yeah.
But, no.
I mean, because that was one thing we're going to have a problem with is, when I talked to Peter about it, I don't know if you know, Pendleton's a very conservative county where the county is, and the jurors there are very conservative. And, they could take one look at you and say, hey, dude, this is a biker. He's an HA, Hells Angels guy. We're not going to give him anything. Yeah. But, Peter was right on the ball. He got the right expert. If you want to explain who, to determine liability, he got the best of the best in the state of Oregon, didn't he?
Absolutely the best.
This is the guy that actually trains the Oregon State Troopers how to investigate accidents, and we got him for the case. Yeah.
And he looked at the evidence that the police had. He looked at the evidence that up until that point was what he had. Yeah. And he came up with a story and a reconstruction. I shouldn't say a story, a reconstruction. And that was sent to me, and I looked at it and I said, that's not right. Yeah. So I called him and I said, have you seen the pictures that I took of my bike it was sitting in Cairns. Oh yeah. When we brought it back to the States, it went to Cairns. Yeah. And he said no, and I said, well, I'll send them to you. So I sent him the pictures, and we went over them, and he looked at it, and based on those pictures, he was able to fill in holes in his reconstruction that he hadn't, because nobody else had these pictures.
No, not even the cops had
No,
it.
the cops didn't have it. I think you might have had them, but nobody had them.
We sent one of our guys down to take photos at Canes. And I think what essentially, and when we settled the case in Oregon, we put pressure on them to pay out their limits. Then we came back here to Alberta. We made a claim against your own insurance company for under, the coverage wasn't enough in Oregon. And I think we went to mediation in January of 2022, didn't we?
Yeah.
And the mediator was an ex-judge. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But he did accept our theory that the defendant in the car, that lady, rear-ended you. Yeah, and that was a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Because I know you're even down in the U.S. they're arguing it. Down here, your own insurer was saying, "Listen, you're at least 50-50 at fault." But when we got in that mediation, we got them to we got that mediator on side, convinced that was a rear-end crash. Wasn't that the factor?
Yeah. I still have to get that straightened out with my insurance company because they've still got that accident as me being involved.
Well, it should be off the record.
Yeah,
so if you need help on that, let me know and I'll talk to them. But obviously, we got it settled. We got it settled for a very good amount of money. And
in a very short period of time.
In 2.5 years, which is really good, especially when they're denying outright liability at the beginning. But obviously now you're able to get on with your life. You got the funds to rebuild your life and enjoy your golden years now and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like for people that have lost limbs or people that have not lost limbs, it's hard to understand. What was it like? Do you mind talking about that? What was it like to lose your leg, the knee down? It is a catastrophic injury. You got to agree with that.
I don't know. My whole attitude to life is you deal with the cards that are dealt to you. I mean, I have always been willing to take a risk, to take a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not someone that sits at home and worries about stuff.
Yeah.
When I got into sailing, I went into it whole out, and I had a 47-foot sailboat without any electric winches, and I sailed that in the Georgia Straits and all that solo. Until I couldn't anymore. I used to be active hiking in this area. I was a trip coordinator for the Rocky Mountain Ramblers and got into going up, and I never did any serious mountain climbing, but a lot of scrambling and a lot of pretty risky stuff. And I just did that. The same thing with motorcycling. I never considered the bad things that can happen.
You just want to enjoy it.
So consequently, when I lost my leg, I just looked at it as, okay, well, it's not going to grow back, so get used to it. If I want to continue to enjoy life, and I do enjoy life, then I had to I had to adapt to the fact that I didn't have a leg. So I committed myself to doing whatever was necessary. When I was at Care West and doing the physiotherapy, I worked my ass off to build up strength and balance and all that. And I've continued to do that. And when I got the settlement, I was able to afford the best leg on the market, which was $125,000 Otterbach leg. So I got that, but the thing is, it's like anything else. It's like you buy a hot car, you buy a hot bike, you buy whatever. You got to learn how to use it. And so that required an awful lot of work, and I had to reassess. I had to learn all over again, balance and walking. So I would go to the Y every 3 days, work out for 2 hours, and develop my balance. And I can do things. My prosthetists tell me that there's a lot of people that lose their leg a lot younger than me. They just give it up.
I know.
And they just lay in bed looking at the ceiling and saying, "Why me?" And I just said, "No, I'm not going to do that." So I'm on the verge right now of getting back on a bike. Sunday, I was out kayaking.
This past Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay. You weren't at Tool Sunday?
No, I didn't go. No, but I decided when I was down in Baja, looking at the ocean, I decided that I wanted to be on the water and not just sitting beside it.
Yeah.
So I looked on the internet and I found these folding kayaks that are nice and light. So I bought one. I put it together and I went to, there's a little pond down in Carburn Park here in Calgary. And I went down and put it together and got it in the water and got in without dumping myself. I went and paddled around the pond for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then got out. So a lot of people wouldn't do that. Well, what if, they'd worry, what if I got out there and I flipped it over? I'd drown.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's like, at the end of the day, you get up and go to work. Some bus could come along and T-bone you, you're dead, correct?
Yeah.
But I mean, you're an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to my clients. I mean, obviously, you went through a really bad accident. Was clearly not your fault. You had no choice. This lady just decided to rear end you in Pendleton, Oregon. You're in a different country outside your country. I mean, unfortunately, you did have a catastrophic injury, but at the end of the day, you just kept on fighting. You kept on persevering, and you just want to live your life. And I knew there was a risk taking on your fall, and it was sort of like, I always liked Brett Favre from the Green Bay Packers because he's sort of like the gambler. He would just throw that 50-yard ball up, and hopefully someone catch it, and they score a touchdown, they win the game. And so it was a risk on us, and we appreciate you just being a great client, cooperating with us, and we had great counsel in the U.S. Peter Hess was great to deal with. I still talk to him. But at the end of the day, you are an inspiration to people out there just to keep on fighting. And you're only here once in life.
That's right.
You might as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
Everyone has bad days and good days. It's part of life. That's why they call it life. Wouldn't you agree that? It's not a bunch of a bouquet of roses every day. You agree with that?
No.
Yeah.
You're going to have setbacks.
Yeah.
You're going to have setbacks, and sometimes they work out well for sometimes they don't. But
yeah.
You keep every day as a series of forks in the road.
Yeah.
And you make a decision what you're going to do, and then you have to live with what comes with what that brings to you.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite movies I grew up watching. It was produced before I was actually born, but I used to watch it with my dad. Remember old Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what life is, right? You have the good days, you have the bad days, and you got the ugly days.
Yeah.
And are you going to let the ugly days destroy your life? You had an ugly day back 2.5, 3, 4 years ago, right? But you just kept on fighting, right? And that's part of life, eh?
Well, that's it's funny that you mentioned a Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
Because another Clint Eastwood, I don't know if it's a movie, but it was a song that. Clint Eastwood and Toby Keith were working together on a movie.
Yeah.
And Clint Eastwood is like, what? He's into his 80s.
He just had another baby at 88.
and Toby Keith said to him, he said, how do you do it? How can you still manage to star in movies and direct movies and produce movies and do whatever you do?
Yeah.
And Clint Eastwood he says, because every morning, he says, I don't let the old man get in the door.
Yeah.
And I heard that and I said, that's so true. And so that's my attitude. It's as far as age goes, you don't let the old man get in the door. But you also don't let the cripple get into the door.
Yeah.
You don't let any negative person or negative aspect of your personality get in the door and take over your day and take over your life. See, I don't have time to sit around and feel sorry for myself.
Well, no one's going to feel sorry for you. At the end of the day, everyone's got their own problems. Like my dad used to say, like you walk through Chinook Center, there's thousands of people there. Well, this guy's worried about paying his taxes, and this guy's worried about his wife screaming at him at breakfast. We all have our problems. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you may have some close friends or some family that will take care of you, but in general, we got to take care of ourselves, correct? In this country, in Canada.
Yeah. And
at the end of the day, you got every day you enjoy life. Is that correct?
I do.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't enjoy life. On Sunday I got up, or Saturday, sorry, I got up 6 a.m, grabbed a cup of coffee out of my kitchen, went for an hour walk by myself, and it was probably the best time I had the whole week, honestly. Just chilling out and enjoying the morning sun. And people don't enjoy that little stuff in life. They always want to be entertained, and it's like the microwave society now. Like, we have to have this right away. You get that new Ferrari. Well, the next day you got to get up and you still got to pay your bills, right?
Yeah. Well, this morning I got up. I do Spanish lessons on.
Se habla español?
Yeah, a little Duolingo. Work at that.
So why are you learning Spanish? So if the cartel pick you up in Baja, you can talk your way out of getting killed or something, or being kidnapped.
I don't worry about. I don't worry about the cartel in Baja. I don't. Worry, that is so overrated.
What is that? The Tijuana cartel in there, or it's not the Sinaloa? They're down by Cucamonga or something.
Well, Sinaloa is over in the Sinaloa province, and that's over on the mainland. Baja is just a nice stretch. It's a 1,100-mile peninsula of desert, mountains, and beautiful beaches, and wonderful people. And I
you don't see Sammy Hagar down there?
No.
Okay. I thought he has a place down there, doesn't he?
I don't know if it's in Baja or not. He's probably over in where they make the tequila and all that.
What's that city there? I forget the name of it. It's really popular now for people to go to.
Jalisco.
Yeah.
No, I went down there. I didn't know anybody. I traveled by myself. I have friends that live in San Felipe that I hooked up with towards the end of my trip, and my friend Jeff and Allison Schmode, who were also involved with One Broken Biker.
Yeah.
They were down there for a few days, and I hooked up with them. But for most of it, I was just on my own.
Yeah.
So learning Spanish, it helped.
Yeah.
But that's what I do. Every day I get up and I work on my Spanish for an hour or so.
Okay.
And today was my day to go to the Y, so I went to the Y and did a workout and worked on my balance and worked on my strength and endurance and stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
So obviously, the people out there, I hope you're an inspiration to people out there when they watch this podcast. Just life's going to have good days and bad days, right? But just keep with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You just have to realize that you can't control what happens to you.
Yeah.
All you can control is how you react to what happens to you.
Yeah.
So. And every day is not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
There's going to be days when it hits the fan, and you have to handle it.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're going to feel a lot better about it and things.
Yeah.
But as long as you're not giving up, and as long as you're working towards where you want to be.
Yeah, your goals in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I want.
What's your goal now at 77 years old?
Well, I used to joke about it, but now it's become getting closer to being real. I used to joke about that I'm going to go and spend my 100th birthday on the main street of Sturgis.
Okay.
And that's not all that far away anymore.
Yeah, it's only 23 years away.
It's only 23 years away, so.
Well, you got to, I always think you have to have a vision, at the end of the day, you have goals in life, because at the end of the day, there's got to be not only just enjoying life. I think people just don't enjoy basic stuff in life, okay? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think, you have to have vision, you have some goals in life, just for yourself. I mean, if you want to do your 100th birthday on Sturgis, I'll probably be there with you, okay? If I'm still alive and kicking. I'll be 76 by then, okay?
Well, see? There you go.
Yeah.
You'll be there. You'll make it.
Okay. Yeah. So of all the rallies you've been to Arizona Bike Week, you've been to the one in Invermere. What's that one again called? I forget the name.
Horsethief Hideout Memorial
and then
Rally.
Sturgis. Which is the one you enjoy the most?
Well, Sturgis is an entirely different sort of thing.
In what way?
Sturgis is 1 million people in a town of 7,000.
So explain to people what Sturgis is and where it is.
Well,
a lot of people won't know what Sturgis
is. Sturgis is probably the largest motorcycle rally in the U.S. now.
Okay.
It's in a little town, Sturgis, South Dakota.
Yeah. In
the Black Hills, around Mount Rushmore. Sturgis, the town, regular population, I believe I saw the sign last time, was like 7,000 people.
Okay.
For Bike Week, they can have anywhere from 400,000 to 1 million. And it's all a bunch of campgrounds that pop up and a bunch of bars and everything, and people from all over the world go.
There's wild women hanging out and everything.
Yeah,
booze flowing everywhere.
Hang out and party and concerts and this and that.
So I know they got some good headlines. Who who's the most famous headline you've seen at Sturgis when you've been there? Like Van Halen or Sammy Hagar or anybody
Well,
like
the
that?
first year, 2014, the Buffalo Chip, it was going to be an off year because 2015 was an anniversary year.
Okay.
And traditionally, the year before an anniversary year is a little slow.
Yeah.
So the guy that owns the Buffalo Chip for 2014, he brought in, Leonard Skinner's always there. They're like a house band.
Oh, yeah.
But he brought in Florida Georgia Line, Zach Brown, ZZ Top.
ZZ Top one? That would have been worth seeing.
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper came.
I can't remember who else. Anyway, there was a ton of really good bands.
So they got some good headline bands.
They
at
have
Sturgis.
had some good headline bands.
All right.
Yeah, so it's a good time. But here in Canada, I used as well as Horse Thief Hideout, I had another rally in Saskatchewan that I went to a lot, and that was the Beef and Barley Rally.
And where is that located?
That's in Round Lake, Saskatchewan, which is over in the far east central part of the province around Esterhazy.
Okay.
And that's actually where I met One Broken Biker's Saskatchewan outreach person, Joanne.
Yeah.
And I met her and her partner Murray at One Broken Biker or at
that rally,
Beef and Barley
Saskatchewan.
Rally.
Yeah.
And actually, that was the year. She was one year, 2 years to the date. Her accident.
Okay.
I think she was. Mine was 19. She was 21. It was 2 years.
Okay.
But that's an old school rally that I really, really enjoy because it's small and I have a lot of friends that go there.
How many people show up there?
Well, they have maybe 300 or 400.
Okay, not very big.
No, as compared to 300 or 400 people as compared to 300 or 400,000 people. And then there used to be a rally outside of Saskatoon. My friend Del Anderson has a farm in Young, Saskatchewan, and he had a rally, Andersonville North.
Yeah.
And that went on for years. And he took a hiatus last year, but he's talking about maybe doing it again.
Okay.
So that was a good rally.
Yeah.
So those are, those were probably my favorite rallies. Were Horse Thief Hideout, Andersonville North, and Beef and Barley here in Canada.
Okay.
And then there's motorcycle campgrounds down around Creston.
Creston, BC, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
There's Riders Ranch, which is owned by my friends Cindy and Kirk Birdall, and they have an awesome motorcycle campground there. A great place to go and chill out, and good riding and good party atmosphere. And then over by Nelson, between Nelson and Caslow, is Toad Rock Motorcycle Campground.
Okay.
That's owned by my friend Mary Laird and her partner Grant.
Yeah.
And they've got 40 acres of biker heaven there. Great place to go camping, wonderful place to just sit back, have a good time, and the riding is incredible. So that's what I've missed, and that's what I'll be getting back to is going to Riders Ranch, going to Toad Rock, plan to go to Horse Thief Hideout this year in July 6th, 7th, 8th.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
Okay.
That's what I want to get back into doing.
And then Arizona Bike Week, that's usually in March. You'll be down there with your motorcycle next year, hopefully in 2024. I just got to ask you a question. So I found out the biggest Harley dealership in the world is in Phoenix. Is that true?
Yeah.
Have you been there?
It's in Scottsdale.
Yeah. You've never been there?
I might have been there years ago, but I didn't make it this year because I was down there this year in my minivan.
Okay.
And once I had my minivan set up for camping, it was just too much of a pain to make it mobile again just to go over there. So no, I didn't go, but next year.
Yeah.
But
I've heard it's like 150,000 square feet, just Harley.
Oh, it's crazy. It's supposed to be just crazy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So the bike will be ready in a month. You'll be back in the hog life, racing around in your trike in Canada, and you're gonna head down to the U.S. at all this summer, or no?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I might, but I'm not really planning on it. If anything, when the bike's ready and everything's ready to go and the trailer's ready, and I really want to go and spend some time at Riders Ranch and Toad Rock.
Okay.
So those are pretty big
Okay, all right. And I know we just had the past election here in Alberta, and you have your little views on politics. Were you happy with the result that happened about 2 weeks ago or so?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I've been involved in politics, not recently, but years ago. I was very active. I worked on Ron Gitter's leadership campaign when Peter Lougheed resigned and Ron Gitter ran for the leadership. I got involved in his campaign and became the coordinator for the signage at all the delegate selection meetings in the convention. And then that led to me meeting Jim Hawkes, who was the party whip in the Mulroney government, and getting involved with his constituency team. So I'm a conservative.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I'd say...
So you're definitely not a NDP supporter?
Definitely not.
Okay.
No,
right.
I'm
and
not.
that's one of the reasons why you live in Alberta?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when Danielle Smith first got involved in politics, I wasn't too partial to her because she was a leader of a conservative splinter group.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too impressed. And then when she walked across the floor, I was even less impressed.
Yeah.
But then she got into radio.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting out in my boat in Nanaimo.
Yeah.
And if you turn on the radio in Nanaimo, all you get is NDP blathering on.
Right.
And so I started listening, thank God for internet, I started listening to Danielle Smith's radio shows and her talk show. Yeah. And I began to realize that she actually thought a lot like I do. She's basically a libertarian. Yeah. She likes small government. Yeah. She's basically conservative. Yeah. And so then she got forced off the radio because the left didn't like what she was talking about. Yeah. So she got forced off the radio, and eventually she got back into politics. And I rejoined the UCP party so I could vote for her to for leadership. Yeah. And then so I'm very happy that the NDP. I just can't understand why Rachel Notley doesn't resign and do the honourable thing, but I guess it's different in the NDP world.
Yeah, maybe she's like the wave of support for NDP. I mean, she's got quite the following here in the province.
Yeah. In Calgary and Edmonton.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously, you like to motorcycle. Any interest in sports at all, like in football, hockey, anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite sport to follow?
Well, I am from Calgary.
Yeah. So what is that? The Stampeders or the Flames?
Both.
Okay, you like both of them?
Both of them.
Flames haven't done much since '89.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But there's always hope.
Okay, so you're hopeful, and what about the Stamps? The Stamps, I think the season starts in a couple days, right? Coming up pretty much this Friday
pretty
or
quick.
Saturday.
Yeah, I think their season opener is within a week at
and they let Bo Levi Mitchell leave. He's in Hamilton now this year. I think he signed with Hamilton.
Yeah, I believe so.
So what's the quarterback situation look like for the Stamps this year?
Well, I don't think it's strong.
Yeah.
But I watched the last exhibition game, and they've got a third-string quarterback that's got an arm and some legs. So they might.
What's his name?
Reynolds, I believe. Okay. Josh Reynolds or something like that.
So you think it'll be 500, or a little bit over 500 this year? The Stamps.
Oh, I think they'll be over 500. I think they'll be duking it out with Winnipeg for first.
Well, Winnipeg's got quite the dynasty going lately. Yeah. And do you go to the games at all, the Stamps games? No. I mean, I used to go as a kid, and I've gone in a couple games, but I'm not a big fan of McMahon. I don't like that stadium. I think it's the worst stadium in the CFL, unfortunately.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they do have those Spalumbo's hot dogs and cold beer, but I think I'd rather just hang out in my man cave and watch a good Stamps game and drink my own beer.
But see, I used to go. I used to, when I was a kid. Yeah. Like 11, 12, 13 years old. The Stampeders played at. There was a stadium down in Mowata. Okay. Where there's now that skateboard park and all that. That used to be Mowata Stadium.
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the stands, it was all wood. When you went to a football game, you sat on literally on bleachers. Yeah. Yeah. And I used to get in. They used to have this junior quarterback club, and they used to save up these bread wrappers.
Yeah.
I can't remember what kind of bread it was, but anyway, you save up these bread wrappers, and 20 bread wrappers would get you into a game.
Okay.
So when they opened up in McMahon, where, geez, the stands were all made out of concrete. And,
I mean, you compare, BC Lions have BC Place, and they've renovated that lately. I mean, there's still Commonwealth, which is decent. Then Saskatchewan's got a new stadium, that Mosaic Stadium, that's beautiful. And then even the Peg's got a new stadium.
Yeah.
So we're out here, and we still got McMahon, and I mean it's okay. I mean I know they've done a face job to it, but I think it's time for Calgary to get a new stadium, even a dome stadium, like a small little 30,000 or 40,000 seat dome stadium. But I don't, we can't even get a hockey stadium in the city, so we'll see what happens over the long run.
Well, the hockey arena, I think, is pretty much a done deal.
Oh, well, that was Daniel Smith's promise. She committed a lot of cash to that during the last election run.
Well, she did, but she didn't commit the cash to the new arena.
Yeah.
She committed the cash to infrastructure around the arena, and which is really needed, because that whole area definitely needs,
that Victoria Park area,
So she's that money, and plus another part. I think there's $300 million went to infrastructure, and then another $30 million is going towards the field house, which will be used as the Flames as a practice arena, but will also be available to the community for a number of things. Okay. And then the arena will be built in such a way that concerts will be able to go in and set up for mammoth concerts, which they can't now because the Saddle Dome roof can't support what modern concerts require. So, I mean, it's a win. Everybody's going to win. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Hopefully it'll happen. I mean, it's just not a bunch of empty promises going forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I personally can't afford to go to a hockey game.
Well, we got tickets here at Grover Law Firm. So if you need a couple tickets to the Flames game, just give me a call. This coming season, we'll flip you a couple. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we got really nice seats, 10 rows in the ice.
Yeah.
I
used to have a quarter package of season tickets, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But now, basically, I just listen to them play or watch them streaming or something like that, or go to a pub.
Yeah.
So I mean, the arena is not something that I would necessarily use for hockey, but the team needs it.
Well, they definitely need a team,
and the city needs it, and so let's get it on. Let's get going and get it done.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you showing up and being my guest. It was an honor to represent you. I'm so happy we got that case settled. It was obviously, from what you're telling me, you're able to get on with your life. Rebuild your life. Get that hopefully you'll get that motorcycle on the road this summer, and when it gets on the road, let Ashley and I know, and we'll come for a nice ride with you out to Lake Louise or Banff.
Absolutely.
Or maybe head down to Longview or stuff like that. Okay. All right.
And I just tell you, our relationship originally started as lawyer and client.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, Steve, I consider you a friend.
Okay.
Well, aside from the fact that you did a great job for me, but you've been in my corner, and you're very supportive, and I consider you a friend.
All right.
And you made me a character in a kid's book.
Exactly, yeah. If no one knows, there's that Will We Rock You.
It's right over there.
Yeah, that's Winston and Rosie. They have a book now.
Yeah.
And they come to the hospital and they meet you in the hospital, and then they see you off after you get your settlement, right?
Yeah.
Those were the smart guys in the office, okay? Not me, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
They had the whole strategy of how to litigate your case. I was just their little errand boy.
And I think they should come down and visit me in Baja.
Oh, I think they should.
I think they should, because we can hang out on the beach, and I'm pretty sure that they could probably, the three of us.
I think those boys need some R&R after, working hard on your case. Enjoy some cerveza and sun on the beach. Wouldn't you agree with that? And some good seafood, some fish tacos or something like that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm all in on that. You never know. there might be something that they can.
Oh, they'll get their paws into something. Trust me. Don't worry about that. But they'll buy you the tequila shots. Okay.
Hey, hell of a deal.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Look forward to seeing you on the road, and it's always good, talk to you again, and thank you for being a guest on the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast. Okay?
All right.
All right. Thank
Good
you.
enough.
Take care.
Take care.